friends and enemies. Hopefully that was not too much of a delay between the time we went live and the time I said that. I'm still working on the timing. My name's Joey. You know that. Tonight we have a very special guest, Zach, who goes by Zach W on the board of directors page on the Denver Bitcoin space, the Space Denver, I think it's called. So I don't know, his name's Worcestershire sauce or who knows, but his name's unimportant. What's important is what he's doing. And Zach was one of the co-founders of this space in Denver. And we've talked a bit on the show in the past about what it means to like be around Bitcoiners, work with Bitcoiners, collaborate, cooperate, and support Bitcoiners. And oftentimes, for Len and I, it means having them on the show. It means going to events. It means going on other podcasts when we're invited. And we love doing all those things, but it's kind of all in the digital space. It's in your ears as opposed to in front of you. And Zach is, taking on a different kind of project here, one that we're going to talk about tonight. This in-person shared, I don't want to call it a co-working space because I think, to be honest with you, I think it cheapens the brand and cheapens what this is, where Bitcoiners can be around each other. And as we were talking about before we went live here, kind of get away from the fiat nonsense of your day-to-day life. God knows there's more and more of that. But let's talk first about the sponsors. EasyDNS is our flagship sponsor, Mark Jeftovic. What can you say about Mark that hasn't been said about the wheel or penicillin? He's changing the world over at EasyDNS. That's probably a bit of a stretch, but Mark is your friendly neighborhood registrar. No matter what you're doing when it comes to domain hosting, Mark's got your back. So if you want to buy a website through Mark, you can do it easy. If you want to port a website that you already own, also easy. We've done both, Len and I, and both times was seamless, piece of cake. And Mark and the team helped us with both processes. By the way, that was before Mark was a sponsor of the show. So he did that out of the goodness of his heart. I'm sure he'll help you with that too, or someone on his team will. Not only that, but if you're a Bitcoin enthusiast, obviously, if you're watching this show, tons of virtual private server stuff that might tickle your fancy. VPS will let you do Bitcoin nodes, Nostr relays, nodeless implementations, BTC pay servers, probably stuff I'm forgetting or not thinking of because I'm not technically savvy, but you are, and you can go over and do all that stuff. Not to mention, because of the nature of the environment in which we operate here, lots of nefarious actors. Domain sure over at EasyDNS, always protected. No one's ever going to grab your, website suffix. There's a better name for that, but spoof your domain, let's say, and email your client list, grab some coin off of them, grab some info off of them, and act otherwise with ill intent on the back of your data. It doesn't happen at EasyDNS. So go there, start your website today, sell pictures of your feet, sell, methylene blue. I have a buddy who just started selling methylene blue. Maybe you want to do that too. I'm not convinced that stuff works, but if you are, or if you can convince other people that it works, go to EasyDNS and start your website. CBP Media is the code, 50% off. You can't beat it. Second sponsor, Bull Bitcoin. You guys know them. Francis and the team. Extreme in both official languages. Les deux langues officielles here in Canada. The best place to buy Bitcoin in the world. And it is global now, by the way. So I feel better saying that than I did a year ago. You can also sell there. You shouldn't sell, but if you have to, you can use their bills platform, pay your bills. It's in the name. That's not just buying gift cards, by the way, which you can also do, but we're advancing here. Okay. We're moving the ball forward at Bull Bitcoin. You can pay your mortgage, credit card bill, university tuition. If you're still falling for that scam, you shouldn't be, but if you are, or maybe your kids are, I don't know. You name it. You can pay it all there. Bill's platform has all that stuff for you. Francis talked about that on the show a few weeks ago, actually, about how even that's come under fire as the platform has proliferated and as Bitcoin has become more and more popular, a target for the powers that be. Bull Bitcoin also non-custodial, so you don't have to worry about getting rugged. You don't have to worry about shotgun KYC. You don't have to worry about any of that shit. That is a thing of the past. Okay, no more. We're not doing that. Go sign up. Give a little bit of your information to these guys so they can comply with the laws of the land, and you get $21 in your account. You can't beat that. I was just on there this morning actually making a buy, and I'm happy to report that it took less than an hour to be in my wallet, privacy enabled, all these things. I'm about to put Zach on the screen. Here he is. I told him before, good background. We don't get a lot of backgrounds here. I used to get, when we first started the podcast, people literally, like Mike Green came on the show and I think was literally fucking barbecuing asparagus the entire time with his camera off. So I appreciate that you're not manning a grill, but Let's a low bar. We can set the bar higher than that. First of all, how the heck are you? I haven't talked to you since the Green Candle Friday happy hour spaces years ago. Brandon now obviously tweeting every day that Bitcoin's going to $1 trillion and another central bank is adopting it. Not sure any of that's true, but all the same, no one has time for the spaces anymore. So it's good to see you. Good to talk to you. What the fuck is going on over there?
Good to see you, Jerry. That was a heck of an ad read, man. That was a skillful. Funny you mentioned Brandon because we are going on Brandon's podcast next week.
Love it.
Having a nice reunion with him pretty soon too.
That's great. That's great. So I want to talk about the Denver space, the space Denver. What do you call it? Like, I'm always unsure looking at websites and logos. Like, some letters are bigger than others. There, this one is easy. It just says the space, but then other places I see it, the space Denver. What am I supposed to call this thing?
It's the space.
The space.
Everyone's talking about it. What do you do in the space? I've been in this space for a while.
That's fucking good. I hadn't even thought about that. I really like that. Okay, but we're gonna get to that. Tell people first who you are. Like, where did Zach come from? Why does Zach care about Bitcoin? What is all this stuff? Where'd you get your start?
Yeah, so I have a background in financial planning. Left that industry in 2020 to start working in Bitcoin. I've been working at Casa for 4 years and running the Denver Bit Devs meetup for the last couple. We basically grew from a meetup to a community. We're like, hey, we want to start opening our doors to more than just once a month, but really doing events all the time. And so, my love of Bitcoin comes from the sovereignty aspect, the permissionless aspect, I don't have to ask you. I can do what I want. It's my money, my time, right? So I think that resonates with me quite well. And the fact that it's for everyone too is another big part. I think that you guys in Canada have a, even worse currency than we've got. And it's cool that, Bitcoin has brought me to meet so many awesome people all over the world. And the space is no exception to that. It's even better because people are like constantly finding out about it, coming through and, making these new relationships. So, yeah, man, it's, we can kind of go in whatever direction you want, but essentially the space is the hub, the mind share, the place where Bitcoiners should be. It's the space. If you know about it, and if you don't, you probably should, for us in the West.
Okay, first of all, you came from traditional finance. You claim to have left that world, and yet I see you got the Patagucci sweatshirt on. Do you want to comment on whether or not you are like fully recovered from your time in TradFi? Are you ready to part with all your Patagonia gear? When are you going to start wearing Satoshi Nakamoto t-shirts that are oversized? What are we doing here?
Yeah, so this is actually some Casa swag. So still a little in both worlds, right? Because although, we're self-custody and we're helping people who are maybe just like kind of early into Bitcoin. And it is very much that like white glove kind of TradFi financial advisor world. So, you still got to look the parts on the sales calls and put your best foot forward. First impressions are everything, but you won't catch me wearing like a collared shirt ever again. I wore one for the space soiree that we had, the fundraiser that we did last year, and that was it, man. Once a year, it's all I do. So this is as far as I get to my old world.
That's probably a good idea, man. Like I used to be a C&E collared shirt guy, Christmas and Easter, and now I don't even do that. So it's it's for the best. The Bitcoiners, listen, we don't think a lot about what other people are wearing. I care more about what you're saying and what you're thinking. And you have been busy. You have been a busy guy. This space thing, you started this on the back, like you said, of a meetup that became a bigger community, that became something you want to do more frequently. Tell me about it. I don't know. I don't know anything about this except what I see on the website. I know nothing else about it. So I am a blank slate. Just tell me, man, what is this thing all about?
Yeah, it's like, you guys have a meetup in your local community, like in your region.
Yeah.
So, depending on how often you do that, you've been going around to that meetup for months or years, like a lot of us. It's your friends, right? And like the more you get in the Bitcoin rabbit hole, the less you want to associate with normies on a daily basis. And so it's sort of like this echo chamber that we intentionally put ourselves in, because we're like, these are the people who I feel understand what's going on in the world based on what I think is going on in the world, right? So we naturally want to gravitate towards people who are like us. And the more our Bitcoin attendance, our BitDevs meetups started growing, we're like, we're outgrowing this. We could do more. And, we had a lot of individual community members who were like working on specific projects who were like, hey, I'd love to do a presentation at BitDevs for this, or hey, I'm like working on this hash rate heating, which Tyler Stevens, one of our co-founders, is doing. And so we have all of these people in our community in Denver where like we really have a lot of special skills, and we wanted to place the space and a platform to really showcase our community, but also help put Bitcoin on the map, right? Because we felt at the same time that we sort of have something special here in Denver, because there is a huge crypto community here. Like ETH Denver is like the biggest Ethereum
Yeah.
conference in the world. And there's a lot of tech people, and there's a lot of people like millennials, like our age, people who are inclined to look into Bitcoin, right? And so we're like, well, we have this passionate, skilled community. We've already somewhat got an organization together. Like we have a process of getting organized. We started pooling money together in a multi-sig to buy pizza and beer, that kind of thing. So we had already kind of like proved ourselves that we could execute on it. And we were like, well, let's just figure it out. Let's like start doing it. And, I think it was Eric Gates and I, we sat by the pool about a year and a half ago, and we were just LARPing. Like Tyler loves to say, like we were literally selling vaporware. And, that is part of our mission, is to make sure that if you want to have something like this in your community, you don't have to go through all those like vaporware stages that we did, because you got a roadmap, right? So early on, Eric and I were like, well, how do we actually accomplish this? Like we have the people, we have the enthusiasm, but what is our goals? And we looked at what's out there. So we said, okay, well, Pleb Lab is kind of like a hacker space, like for developers, and Bitcoin Commons is sort of a co-working space, and Bitcoin Park is sort of a blend of all of the above. And so we reached out to all of them and said, hey, what's working, what's not, and can you share your struggles, share your successes? And all of them were super excited and happy to give us advice. And the first thing he said was, you probably shouldn't do this, man. It's going to be a huge time sink and you're going to lose money. So we said, okay, well, let's, if it's going to take a lot of time, let's distribute it out amongst our community. And if it's going to take a lot of money, let's not bankroll it by any one person. Let's control it from the community. Let's actually like fundraise this and do this kind of like in the ethos of Bitcoin. And at that same time, since we're doing it this way, let's build a framework. Let's build a roadmap, a template, so that in Toronto or in LA or wherever you are, you can say, hey, this is how they did this in Denver. Maybe we don't have quite as many people, or maybe we have just as skilled of a members, group of members who are in our local meetup. Let's figure out how they did it and maybe shortcut that a little bit. Let's not go through all the hassles that they did. And so we are a nonprofit, and we open source in all of our documents, and we're still working on that because there's a million things that are growing to-do list, but really the space is, I'd say in a sentence, it's a community hub for Bitcoiners. It's a place where you can go to learn about sovereignty, to learn about financial education, to learn and meet like-minded people, to exchange values and services with others. So, we have people who are helping each other, like do various things around the house, or skills, or babysitting, or helping people fix miners. I mean, I've got a space heater right behind me that was donated to me just so I could learn how to tinker with an S9, right? And so, just having that physical venue to be able to gravitate towards, you'd be surprised how much that changes things, right? For Bitcoin to be this like digital, decentralized protocol that's everywhere, it's amazing how effective having an actual physical space can be in that success.
Okay, do you have a weight room in there?
Yeah, work out. Yeah.
You are. That's it.
Yeah, or
I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so let's talk a bit about this. This is I I'm a sucker for a good weight room. I want to know is what what is the sort of average day like at this place? Because when I think about these co-working spaces, collaborative spaces, and I think that's a good way to put it. It's a place where you go to be around Bitcoiners. It's simple, but it makes a lot of sense, and a lot of us want to do it. What's an average day like? Is it something like you have planned events every day? Or, if I go to, for example, the membership page, there's like two tiers of membership. As you said, it's nonprofit, but it's basically a co-op. Unlimited guest passes, conference room booking, quiet daytime call space. I assume these things are sort of limited, but also unlimited in a sense. So you have sort of a part there that's play it by ear. And then is there another part of the park where you guys are scheduling events? You're expecting certain things to happen every day. Give me a breakdown.
yeah, so there's two sides to the building. Let's see if I can
Yeah, but if
screen
you put your
share.
screen up, I think I'll be able to see it at the bottom, and I'll add it to the there we go. I
So
see
we've
it.
got two sides here. And on the one side is what we call the main room, the social lounge area. So this is
God, that looks nice. Look at that.
so you can see we've got a big kitchen. This is where a lot of our events, we have food, and we've got some kegerators with drinks. And so, we usually open our kitchen up when we have events. So this side's kind of like where you do the mingling, and we do like before the presentations and after we'll do on that side, and then you'll see the stage view on the left here. This example of Denver Bit Dev. So we have a few different layouts that we can set this room up, but this is on the other side. So it's a kind of like a shotgun style layout building where it's just a straight shot back. So
Mhm.
two different sides of the main room and the event room. And then in the back, we've got an area where we're building a Bitcoin medium of exchange area so that you can actually spend Bitcoin and buy things in person and really use Bitcoin for its intended purpose. So, of course, we've also got all of the Bitcoin paraphernalia that you would imagine. No shortage of that. And we're working with a few different individuals. I don't know if I can say just yet who it is, but we're working on building out an art gallery. So
Is it
you'll see that.
Madex?
I can't say who this is. So
It's
that's what I was
probably
just
Madex.
telling you, Joey.
I hope it's Madex.
I if I can say, somebody shoot me a message so I can get them to say it. But we're launching an art gallery soon, and we're gonna have curated freedom art all throughout these walls. So you can see all the brick walls and all the potential this place has. So again, we want it to be. I mean, there's actually like a reason why we didn't call it just like a Bitcoin X, like Bitcoin Mountain or
Mhm.
these other names, and it's because we didn't really want to pigeonhole ourselves into just Bitcoin specifically, although it is foundational to our core principles. And of course, we run a Bitcoin treasury as a Bitcoin organization. We wanted to really expand what we could talk about. And so we have events that are, health focused or sovereignty focused that aren't necessarily just, Bitcoin protocol. But we've also got all kinds of events that we're doing education for Bitcoin and specific. So just tomorrow, for example, we've got one. It's a Bitcoin wallet workshop. So there's about 40 people or 30 something people RSVP'd here, and we're going to go through basics of wallets and got deep dive into Q&A, and then we're going to do like a interactive session where we'll be doing test nets. So just having a place like this to be able to do that type of workshops and co-work in the middle of the day is just like, it's kind of like make it your own. We've got this area in the event room. This is all set up as co-working during the day. So all of these kind of tables that you see in a circle, they're more set up like individual co-working seating there. And we can usually co-work about 20 people on a normal day. And we have, about 75 members today. So about a third of them are co-working. So no issues with capacity yet, but that'll be a good problem to have when we get there, and we've got room to expand.
You have somebody in the chat here saying this puts the Austin Bitcoin Commons to shame. I have not seen the Austin Bitcoin Commons. I've had Matt on, and afterwards, Odell, I should say, talking about Nashville Bitcoin Park. And some of my friends have been there. Matt speaks highly about it, but I've not actually seen it. And so, when I look at this space, Zach, it's a couple of things stick out to me, right? The first thing is that you guys have done a good job making that an inviting space for people to just come and hang out and work, like you mentioned. And one of the things that, we preach on this show, and I'm sure you guys have considered this in your strategy as well, is Bitcoin can't always be the top of the funnel, right? It's hard to get people to come under the auspices of, we're going to absolutely drill into you how important 21 million of something is as soon as you walk in the fucking door. And if you don't like it, it's not the place for you. That doesn't work. What works is, like you mentioned, can we talk to people about health? Can we talk to people about sovereignty? Can we talk to people about firearms? Can we talk to people about, Austrian economics, things that are interesting to people who then wind up in Bitcoin? Those are the gateways, right? No one wakes up one day and says, man, it'd be nice if there was like digital scarce money that I could use that was verifiably, or like the supply was verifiable and it was mined with commodity energy. No one thinks that, but they do understand these other things. So I want to applaud you guys for that. Maybe the next place we should go in terms of this space is how is this thing funded? That does not look cheap. Okay, I said to you before the show, like that building looks nice on the outside. I could see somebody shilling that as an Airbnb, like come have your bachelor party here. It's $5,000 for a night, split it with 20 people. That place cannot be cheap. I'm not going to ask you how much it costs to run because that's not a fair question. These things change all the time, and you guys have a right to keep that private at least a little bit. How is the funding set up for this place? I see the memberships. Where does that money go? What sort of things can people who contribute today expect to get back tomorrow when they participate in this operation?
Yeah, so it is a undertaking to run, to organize, to operate, and you can see we've got, we do our best to put out there what we are doing. Like I said, the struggles, the successes. So we have our treasury reserve policy that we're transparent about, how our dues are spent. We have committees and monthly budgets. We have a Bitcoin treasury, but we have a very disciplined policy of selling every month. As our treasurer, our CFO says, it's the worst day of the month for him because he has to sell sats for rent. But, our goal is not to stack sats. Our goal is to run a successful Bitcoin and freedom hub for our region. So, yeah, I mean, we were funded from a lot of generosity in our community. We had, I believe it was 50, I should know this number as chairman, but 50 something founding members. And these were the individuals who, I think it was 55, people who paid monthly contributions, donations to the organization, basically got nothing in return. It was like an altruistic thing.
Wow.
And yeah. And so, like I said, I mean, we had to do this all in the open to encourage people to continue to support us. And we knew that, if we didn't do it that way, we were going to have to take a large lump sum of money from one individual or one company and potentially be controlled by them, right? We sort of lose our autonomy of what we're wanting to do, and maybe the ability to give a framework for how to do this in your community at the same time. So we really felt it was important to raise money from our community, and we did like member social events every month and just like tapped our community in every single Bitcoin event in Denver, in Colorado. We were like, do you know about the space? And we were telling people about it, and we're like, you got to be a member. Your name will be on a plaque in the building if you're on it. Some people are like, I don't want my name on the plaque. Bad OPSEC, bro. And so I mean, I think we started to hit a critical mass with about 20 or 30 people, where we had like a founding night, and that was actually where we created our nonprofit and became legit. And that's when we really started to attract members and start looking for a venue. And we were, sort of in this virality of building through word of mouth and online. We were introduced to a Bitcoiner who was inspired by what we were doing. And we had a couple meetings with him, and he was like, well, I think I've found a venue that'll be perfect for this. And fast forward a few months and the space is it, right? And so we're able to accomplish this in a way that maintained our ethos and still be able to accomplish something amazing. Like we were talking about much less impressive venues in our initial founding, and a big part of it was these four companies, Casa, Compass, Unchained, and Fetty, as they all gave us initial grants too to help us get off the ground. And those were significant, really helping us bootstrap our runway and therefore our ability to actually afford what we're doing. So, we're still figuring it out as we go, and we're throwing events all the time, and we have like operational budgets that we're learning how to where can we like manage it a little more effectively. And that's part of like what was so exciting about this is like, hey, we're gonna show you how, like, don't buy pizza at every event, or like that's an unnecessary expense that you might wind up coming up later, or don't buy canned drinks, get something on tap because it winds up like lasting a lot longer. So little things like that, running a venue, but at the same time running a successful event hub. So Bitcoin education is not just in person, but we record almost all of our events. So we're building a big content library online presence too, so that we can actually push this out there and really live by our educational mission.
Content thing is huge. I continue to be surprised that some of these conferences, co-working spaces, there's just no excuse at this point not to have like a proper studio setup where you can talk to people, record it. Couple high quality cameras cost like $1,000. Get 2 cameras, a video switcher, some guy to press the button when someone's talking. It's not that hard to do, and I'm glad to hear you guys are doing that, because when I think about what would make a lot of this stuff not only better on the ground but more popular outside of the area, outside of the space is being able to see it and enjoy some of the stuff, right? It's hard for me to imagine people want to make the trip to Denver or Nashville or wherever to see something like this without having quote unquote seen it already. So kudos to you guys for that. I want to talk a bit about your board. You have what looks to me like a 9-person board ish. Yeah, 9-person board. How did you come up with these? Yeah, I don't know. Like sometimes people don't think the chairman is a board member. It's like a separate entity. Depends on how you view like Robert's rules of, anyway, that's a story for another time.
We do follow those.
Yeah. So like, do you want to talk a bit about how you pick these folks? A couple of them are familiar to me. You, Yakes. You just mentioned Tyler, who what did his background was? Geez, I forget. You just said a little while ago. But a couple of these faces I don't recognize. So how did you guys come up with the board? Did the board approach you guys? Were these people who were financial contributors or helped you get leads to financial contributions? Give me a little bit about the makeup of your board here.
These were the people who put in the proof of work. I mean, that's simple as that. I mean, in the early days, we were like, hey, we're going to, like I said, first it was Eric and I, and within a few weeks, it was 4 or 5 other people. And from the beginning, there was a core group of people who really were inspired to make this happen. And so when we formed in April or in March last year, we had a founding night and we did elections. So anyone who had paid or did donations up to that point was chose for the board of directors. And so everybody got up there and he was interested and said, hey, here's like why this mission, why this organization is really inspiring to me, and like how I think I can help move it forward and help it accomplish. And again, that didn't exist. Like it's literally just like people in a room talking about an idea at this point with a multi-sig with other people's Bitcoin in it. And it's still, I mean, I could look back on it. It's like, it's amazing that it happened. And yeah, so the board was chosen by the crew who made it happen. Some of the roles were unopposed and a few weren't. And we have annual elections at the current governance model where coming up in just a few months, actually, we'll be potentially selecting a new board. I'm sure some will get reselected. Done a great job. We went from concept to implementation. So There's definitely some success that our team has done, but yeah, man, it's a lot of work. Tyler says it's, it's the hardest full-time job that doesn't pay anything, and he's right, because it is a full-time job, and I don't think any of us, like when we were drafting we were drafting like the, what do you call it, like the board.
The terms of reference, you'd probably
Yeah,
call
like
it.
how much you need to like like the duties. I keep saying dues, like duties. I'm like, we need money to survive. Uh, Please donate right there. But the duties, like, hey, like chairman's going to do this, CEO's going to do this, CFO's going to do this, and kind of like, first we don't even know. We got to figure all that out. We were estimating like, a couple out, like 4 or 5 hours a week, where it's like literally it's like that per day, Joey. So
do,
it's a
do,
incredible.
okay, do you think, like, one of the things I was thinking about when because I'm looking at the website and talking to you in the lead up to the interview, it's like this thing is open source, and you said it a couple times tonight. It's we will help you the same way that we were helped, and all I hear from you, Zach, is that it's fucking hard. Okay, it's like a lot of work. You have it's no money. The guys you called for help were like, "Don't do it. It's not worth it." So, like, maybe we should talk a little bit about the beginning of the process for you guys and some of the difficulties you hit. Selecting a space is an obvious one. You guys, it seems to me, got really lucky. You're very fortunate to know a guy who thought this was a good space. You locked it down over the course of a few months by the sounds of things. I'm thinking about myself here in Hamilton, Ontario. Real estate is expensive. Co-working spaces expensive. I remember this was a few years ago now, but even trying to book a wedding venue, places that looked honestly, Zach, a lot like the spot you got. It's 15 grand for a night. Like it ain't cheap, and you guys are getting this for a month or month over month. So like maybe let's go back to the beginning of this. When you're thinking about the physical location, owning versus mortgaging, renting, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Then there's also the considerations about stuff like, what are we near? Are we near anything else that'll help us grow? Are we near anything else that'll cannibalize this business from us? What are some of the challenges you guys thought about in those early days that people who are considering doing something like this will probably also have to get through and experience?
Yeah, well, I'll say that it is a lot of work, but the moment you set foot in there, you attend an event. We had 80 people last night at our event, and 2 nights before or week before, we had another 70, 80, 90 person event.
Outstanding.
You're in there and it's just like, oh, it's worth it. The people who come up to us and talk about how freaking cool it is to be in a Bitcoin venue and for it to be in their town. It's like people who were envious of Nashville are like, I could stay here now. I don't need to go to Nashville.
That's
So
great.
it's very rewarding, man. And I think that's the payment that we get as the ones who've really put a lot of sweat equity into it, though there's no real equity because it's a nonprofit. But yeah, I mean, we like to say the chicken and the egg problem. We had it all the time. We're still running into it all the time, to be honest. The biggest one was we're Bitcoiners, so we want to hold Bitcoin, especially because when we were starting to plan this out, Bitcoin was like 25K. So we're like, I mean, come on, we're not going to hold dollars. However, as you may believe, landlords, they don't like Bitcoin, or at least 2 years ago they didn't. Maybe things are starting to change, and so they're looking at us like we're crazy coming as a Bitcoin organization when Bitcoin's 25, 30K, saying we want to pay our monthly dues, and we have an organization that's going to do events and have people that work in the Bitcoin industry, and we're going to work here in the daytime, and we're going to do events at night, and on the weekends we're going to have social things and community building and the marketplace where you could buy Bitcoin. And they're like, you're nuts. And also, Bitcoin's risky, and I'm not going to lease my building to your organization. You also have no established track record of, any of that. And so we ran into this chicken and egg problem for a while. And all the while we continued to throw social events in town and start continue to collect donations and try to fundraise and say, you know what? Well, the more Bitcoin we've got and the longer it takes, the more Bitcoin's going to go up. We'll have more pull in time. And honestly, man, that's what it really was. We, I love the saying, success is where luck and preparation meet, and you got to have both. So like my tip to any community out there who's got some semblance of, organization amongst their community already, like if you're pulling 30, 40, 50 people to your meetup about Bitcoin development regularly, that's where we were. And, if that's the case, then you got to start preparing. You got to put the roadmap together. You got to start putting irons in the fire so that when the right opportunity does come into play, and that's really part of the key, is that we weren't going to accomplish this without finding the right landlord who was willing to understand what our organization was going to do and was inspired by it. So the more we prepared for this, the more eventually longer it went, we found the right person who was like, I want you to hold a Bitcoin treasury because I know fiat's a melting ice cube. And I love the fact that we can build a Bitcoin hub and this sort of development mind share, somewhat like of a Silicon Valley type of feeling in Denver in the Bitcoin world. So, once he was inspired by what we're doing and we really showed him how the sausage was made and the transparency of our organization, and it was like, okay, like, you guys, it's as good as it's going to be. I mean, we're going to make mistakes as we go, but that's part of it, is like figuring it out. So, so I'd say you got to prepare, got to raise, find companies that also have a presence, like employees in your area, because that was big key. Like all these companies here have, some sort of tie to Denver, and therefore it was, good for them to be a part of this, having a hub like this in their region.
It's funny. Someone in the chat mentioned Unchained shares an office at the Commons, right? So they're behind the Commons, behind you guys. Like, this is the thing I think people don't understand about Bitcoin. In other industries, there's a lot more zero sum thinking. And, Unchained, or a company like Unchained, may say, we're going to sponsor one of these co-working spaces, one of these community hubs, and try and make it the best one out of all the community hubs. In Bitcoin, and we see this a lot in the podcast space, and we see this a lot in the meetup space. Bull Bitcoin will sponsor the same meetup that ShakePay might sponsor, 2 exchanges up here, or 2 different wallet manufacturers may sponsor. You might see CoinKite plus Ledger sponsoring the same conference. There's a lot of it's us against everyone else thinking in Bitcoin. And there's companies that are willing to sponsor in more than one place, for more than one effort, for more than one sort of project, even if it means that they're spreading themselves a little thinner, that those projects may be intentionally or unintentionally, explicitly or implicitly competing with each other, stuff like the 2 common areas, the hub and the space, these different things, right? Or the commons in the space, I should say. People have to keep that in mind. And I think a lot of times when I see people talking about planning meetups and some of the group chats I'm in, it's always, well, we can't get this company sponsored because they're already sponsoring this other meetup. You'd be surprised. Those companies want to be associated with good people, and it takes a good person, it takes a producer to get behind and start something like this, where there's almost zero inertia at the beginning of something like this. There's nothing, right? No one really wants to do it. You said you and Yakes are LARPing by the pool or whatever, and off you go now. A year later, you're running this thing. So I think people should be aware of that. That's an important consideration. You should be asking everybody. Now, one of the things I want to ask, given that you guys are not doing events every day, can't be expected of you.
We
it'd
are
be
doing a lot of events, Joey.
Are you doing them every day, Zach?
Not
every day.
Okay. It feels like it lately, man. We've had like 8
you're
events.
not doing them every day.
Not every day.
People are coming there and they're helping you pay your bills. They're working. Now, are the people coming there to work during the day? They can't all be Bitcoiners. They may just like the space. They may just want to come hang out. Are they all Bitcoiners?
They may not all identify themselves as Bitcoiners, but yeah, I mean, we have an application. We have an application process, and one of the questions is like, how far down the Bitcoin rabbit hole are you?
Wait a minute. You have to go there with a laptop and spend the day. You have to apply?
No, so Good clarification. So we have, you can screen share our membership page for it in a moment. So we have a couple different tiers. So we have a social membership tier, or
Yeah.
actually, let me start
Keep
at a
talking.
different.
I'm gonna pull it up.
So we have a supporter tier. You, Joey, you want to level we're doing at the space. You want to support us with $5 Canadian worth of Bitcoin per month. I won't go very far, Joey, but we'll take it and it will be greatly appreciated. So if you go down to the bottom, you can be a monthly supporter. So gets you access to our newsletter and basically our good graces. We appreciate your support. Wouldn't happen without our supporting members. The public, so we have a lot of free public events. So if you're in the Denver area or you're in the Denver area during any weekend or week, we've usually got something going on. So denver.space/events. You find out what's going on at the space and come to one of our free public educational events. If you want to come and co-work during the day, so you're in town maybe, or maybe you live here but just don't want a full membership, you can purchase a day pass, which goes to keeping the lights on, basically. We have amenities like coffee and drinks and all that, snacks that you can. And there's a bunch of Bitcoiners there that you can talk to and shoot the shit with. So there's hard to find a co-working place that you can have that with. Now, if you want, the way we are running our operations, we have two different tiers of actual members. So we have a 210 member cap, and we currently have 75. About a third of our members are co-working, and the rest are social. So social members are going to be 150 a month, and you get 5 co-working days per month. So you have a code you can get in with, and you're able to bring a guest with you during those co-working days. If you'd like. So if you got a spouse, they would come with you during those days, they're welcome to. But you also get access to the building after 4 p.m.
Mm.
So anytime in the evenings, usually we have events going on, but not every day. And also on weekends. So we have full access to our members, all members on the weekends. And then we've got our co-working tier where that's for someone who really wants to be in there a lot more often, more than just a couple days a month. And this gives you 24/7 building access. So you drop by anytime. You also have unlimited guest passes. And these are really our core members who a lot of them work in the Bitcoin industry and work here in Denver, probably like remote workers and want to work around other Bitcoiners, but maybe they aren't even working at the same company, right? So as a great example, like Rocky at Unchained and me at Casa, like we both co-work in the same building, and we keep a friendly rivalry in between sales calls. And so we have a couple different ways to support the organization. But if there's one message I want to get across is that if you would like to support the organization, there is a way for you to do it.
It's right here. Make sure you look at this. Okay, so I guess the other question I would have for you, you guys are obviously looking for members now. Is there a cap on the membership? There must be, right? Because you guys have a limited space there and you want the experience to be pleasant for everyone who's paying. So how many members do you have, if you're comfortable sharing that? I don't know. And then how many can you have? If you is there on this roadmap that you're still working on, is there here's what happens when you get to 1,000 members? You got to get another fucking building.
Yeah, so we have in our bylaws, our cap is 210.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have 75 today. So we're about a third of the way to our membership cap. And if a member drops, their membership number is retired. A new member can take their place, but that membership number is going to be theirs. So we're pushing an NFT. I know. I see you smiling. We're not. See you, Joey. At least not on ETH. Maybe on a layer 2 someday, but on a Bitcoin. Only on Bitcoin. And we are focused on Bitcoin. It's it is a freedom hub, but Bitcoin's the only cryptocurrency that really affords the freedom that our organization cares about. So
totally. No, that's good to know. And when you guys do events, Zach, like you mentioned some of the stuff you've had. Have you turned people down? Like, what if you're someone who wants to have an event there? What are sort of the requirements? I'm sure you have to talk to the board. You have to come to some agreement on what you can and can't present. Doesn't that, I mean, I don't want to say it flies in the face of the freedom ethos. You, of course, as the, proprietor, CEO, are free to do what you want with the space. Who do you say no to? Do you say no to anybody? Would you say no to anybody?
So we have an application process for membership. And one of the questions is, how far are you down the Bitcoin rabbit hole? And most of our members reply is, I lost it all in a boating accident. So we do want to have our membership be really aligned with the values that our organization cares about. And those are on our website. See 'em. For those who want to come to the space but really aren't a fit for membership, maybe they're either into altcoins and want to promote those. It's a big one. Or maybe they just overall like aren't someone who our community really gets along with, though I'll say that hasn't really been. There's one case where someone wants to promote altcoins. No, this is a place where if you are into altcoins and you want to keep that to yourself and not promote them in our walls, potentially would be allowed to be a member accessible there. But if you're going to be promoting things that are antithetical to our values, that's not going to fly. So the event side's a little different, but it is also in those same guidelines. So we're in the neighborhood of ETH Denver. We are literally dead smack.
There's on your website. It looks like you're going to be at ETH Denver for Bitcoin Week, right?
We are Trojan horse Bitcoin behind the ETH walls.
Yeah.
In the neighborhood. I mean, when you search crypto venue in Denver, we come up. So,
hey.
And then we've had a lot of organizations reach out to us, interest in the venue, varying degrees of tolerance to what they're doing. I think one of the hard lines that we're going to draw is if your organization is issuing a token, first off, it's likely to be a unregistered security. As a nonprofit, we don't really want to get involved in things like that. We're trying to do everything above board. Second is that, the reason we didn't take money from a single person was so that we're not beholden to any one individual or any one organization. And we're not going to take money from organizations that we, really don't agree with what they're doing. So, we've had some, I don't want to blast any specific organizations that have reached out to us, but I'm not going to.
Up to you.
I'm not going to do that. But we have turned down more than we've accepted, put it that way, significantly more. But, when we're talking about things like ETH Denver, for example, I mean, it's all Ethereum stuff. So, what we're really focusing on in ETH Denver is the Bitcoin layer 2 ecosystem, because this is what really we don't want to alienate those who are stuck in altcoin land. Like those, we feel bad for them.
I totally agree.
We're apologetic for that. We feel sorry for them that they are going to miss out on the world's biggest innovation in financial history. All they had to do was buy Bitcoin instead. And hopefully the space is that beacon of shining light in the darkness. And the darkness of the space, this venue is going to be a place where people can say, oh, wait, I've been wrong all along, So we are very much about meeting people where they're at. So we have educational events of all different degrees. So we have a beginner, intermediate, and advanced BitDevs. We're going to be doing special Bitcoin Week events during ETH Denver. So excited to I think it's going to be the hot spot. And there was a huge Bitcoin scene in ETH Denver last year, and we knew that if we were to pull this off by this ETH Denver, this would be something special. So we're still making it up as we go, but I think it's gonna be cool.
It's exciting. I'm actually happy to hear you say that you don't try and alienate the shitcoiners. My co-host Len, who is a lot more militant than me, takes the opposite viewpoint, that we should laugh and dance and do other things on the graves of these people as their bags.
Right.
I'm sure and there's a case to be made for that set of sentiments, but I think I'm more closely aligned with you in that there's going to be, especially from the Ethereum camp, over the next year or two, a lot of people who are looking for a new home, who have most of the same values and just missed on the one or two things that Bitcoin, and that's it. They let the Vitalik potion get to them, and now that really has worn off and sort of proven itself, especially over the last week or two, to be a fraudulent token, a fraudulent ecosystem. But we don't talk about that. What the one thing maybe we can close on, because it's interesting, I don't often get to talk to people who are at the start of a project. I talk to a lot of people who are maybe hitting maturity in their projects, or are now at the point where they're done the base layer of their project, and they're innovating some other way. They're extending their tentacles to some new thing, and they want to talk about that, or talk about culture or narratives. You're still in your infancy here. And I'm curious, for something like this, something like the Bitcoin Commons or Bitcoin Park in Nashville, I don't hear a lot about what those things are going to look like in 5 years. And, we talk a lot in Bitcoin about what the price is going to be in 5 years. What's layer 2 going to look like in 5 years? What's the transaction layer going to look like? What is the macro environment? The macro birds are always chirping. What is the space going to look like in 5 years? What is the plan? What is you can't, I suppose you could actually just remain like a hub and keep doing one or two or three things and do them really well. There's value in that. But I get the feeling that this is not going to be a place like that, because you got a board here who looks, if I kind of hover over their names, a lot of innovators and different disciplines and expertise sets. I get this feeling that they're not going to want to sit still. So what's it going to look like in 5 years?
Man, way bigger than it is now. I mean, we might have a whole block. I mean, Bitcoin's gonna be like $10 million a coin. We'll be able to buy out every single home in the area. But we'll orange pill them all first, so that they'll all, come up first. And that's actually, we have been teaching we had some neighbors come over, because we're in a
So
mixed.
wait, like you guys and the Jehovah's going door to door asking if I've heard the good news? Is that what you're telling me?
No, they come to our door. They see the
Okay.
Bitcoin accepted here sign through the all glass door, and they were like, "Oh, so people, we're working on orange pill," and because we're in a mixed residential area, so it's like the
It
only
looks like it.
commercial building.
I think it's great. Yeah.
There's like houses across the street from us, and they see 80 people in here, and they're like, "What is going on with these Bitcoin people all of a sudden?" It's going to be way bigger than it is now, and it's going to be able to live on without any of those, innovative board people, because we all might be gone. We all might have turned over completely. That's exactly why we set it up this way. So, this is a idea, right? This is a movement, just like Bitcoin itself. That's why we didn't want it to be tied to any one person. So it's why there's 9 people on the board. So we have so much democratic process. We're tripping over each other. And it's why we elect a new board every year, so that we make sure we're not getting stuck in our own echo chamber of what's working and hasn't been. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be bigger. Our treasury is going to be the size of a King Kong, and hopefully we are throwing some the most ballin' events in the Rocky Mountain region. The governor is going to be there. Cynthia Lummis coming from Wyoming, she's going to be there. Everyone who's everyone in money, because Bitcoin is just money, and it'll be everyone's money pretty soon, will know about the space. It'll be the place where the future of Denver's finances came about. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to have been a part of the awesome 8 other people who are making that happen. And man, it's really I'd say that's the biggest thing for me is the community aspect. We already all were orange pilled. We all know it's going up forever. But honestly, man, if you're only focused on the money, you've kind of missed the point, even if it is about Bitcoin. And so,
Yep.
To me, this is a really stark reminder for everyone in our physical community, not the Bitcoin community at large, but in the Denver community, but also in the Bitcoin community at large, because we have people flying in from all over the country, all over the world, just to check out the space. So it is a worldwide thing, but it's about the community, right? Money is for people. At the end of the day, Bitcoin is for people. Maybe it's going to be for computers and machines and AI, autonomous agents and all that too, but it's still right now for people to trade together, to live their lives, to plan for the future. It's so much of what the space is really reconnecting that money with the people. It's that community aspect that was missing for the last several years with post COVID and all that, that we are so glad to freaking have again, man. It's what makes this like hell of a ride towards monetization, like stomachable. Like we can get rich and get poor with friends together. And so if you're coming through Denver, you got to check out the space. You just take the A line straight from the airport. You can walk to it from the train station. No excuses.
This is an impassioned man making an impassioned plea here for everyone to go check out the space. I think you should. I think if you're in the area, you should. I think if you're not in the area, you should. Zach, you've been a great guest. Tell people if they have questions, comments, if they want to buy a t-shirt, which you don't make. I can't believe with a logo like that, you don't have a t-shirt. That is a sin. Your board needs to give their heads a shake on that.
Dylan, you hear that? Merch
Yeah,
committee?
give your head a shake. You need a t-shirt. And by the way, it should have a small logo on the front, chest emblazoned over the heart, big logo on the back. That's what the kids like. Put it on an American
We're
apparel.
going Euro tee, man. We're going the
V-neck.
the space on the space on the collar, dude. That's what Yakes came back from a conference in Europe, and he was wearing like one of those Euro tees, and like that's it, dude. That's the face merch.
No, that can't be it. That can't be it.
You should. We'll have the member jersey. Yeah, your member number. It'd be like
like that. That's the kind of shit. That is the kind of shit people like. And like, if people want to contact you, if they want to donate, Zach's got a QR code behind him there. He's out of the way. Look at the QR code. Send these guys a couple of bucks. Every little bit helps. You don't get anything except the warm feeling. But having listened to Zach for the last hour, you should appreciate by now that this is something he's passionate about and something these other guys are passionate about. And we need hubs everywhere, because there are people who are going to be looking for answers. And if we don't corral them, they will go to the wrong place and spend another 5 years wandering the desert, wondering why they can't put food on the table. And so places like the space, that's fantastic. Now tell people, they want to find out more, they want to contact you. How do they do it?
Yeah, and say like, look, Bitcoin is the most important thing that's happening in our life, or one of the most important things, I think. Because of that, you need to learn about it, and everyone in your area needs to learn about it. If currencies hyperinflate and the people living next door to you don't have any Bitcoin, you're in danger. So it behooves everyone to enrich and empower their community. That's why we don't alienate the normies. We encourage them, we empower them, we educate them, right? None of us were Bitcoiners.
No.
At the very beginning. We maybe were Bitcoiners at heart and we didn't know it yet, but we had to go through that same rabbit hole, that same 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 hours, depending on how fast you read and what speed you listen to podcasts on. But yeah, man, it's I will say that like this is going to be such an important place, an idea for communities. It's been talked about all over the country since the moment we launch. It's being talked about all over the world. We've had people reach out in Europe. We've had people reach out in San Francisco. We've had people reach out in Florida. Say, how can we get this same type of thing in our community? We've been open 4 months. So this movement is, I mean, like we're in the beginning phases, like you said, and 5 years from now, if you want, I think a long-term vision could be there are spaces all over, and you have a pass that gets you into any of them, depending on what city in the world you're at, and they're all run with the same values, similar to Bitcoin. So you got to learn about getting your community involved, and if there's not someone that's doing that, you be that person. Like just be that person. This is the most rewarding thing that I've done, that any of the people on the board of directors, I would say, would also say they've done. So yeah, man, space to the moon. So we got a rocket ship. So that's our alternate logo.
That's it. Thanks for watching and listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.